Hi everyone. Thanks for joining us today. So I'm Amrita. I'm the lead for DSC and part of DSC Malaysia. So I guess some of you already know what DSC is all about. So for those of you who are joining us for the first time, Developer Student Clubs are a university-based community for students who are passionate about solving problems and exploring new technologies. So it welcomes anyone who's interested in technology and who are passionate about new advancement in technology, or they want to learn anything related to it. So our mission is to bridge the gap between theory and practice, and our activities are usually targeted for university students, but this time around we decided to do something a little different and take into consideration about the other students out there, not just university students, but also students in college and high school. So I'm sure there are many of you out there who are interested in becoming programmers or developers. So this is an initiative for us to reach out to you guys and let you know what is out there for you. So this session is mainly to introduce you guys to programming. We have an amazing speaker joining us today. I'll introduce him in a bit. So what we plan to do through this session is to sort of not just introduce it to you, not just introduce programming to you, but also to sort of like um, let you know what are the things that you could do with the knowledge you get from programming. So it's not just about coding. It helps you learn how to solve problems and stuff. So I'm sure you guys are aware how technology intersects with pretty much any field or any area in the industry. So yeah, it could be quite interesting for you guys. So let me bring in our speaker for today. I'll add him to the stream. So, hi, Izzman.
Hi.
So this is Izzman. He'll be our speaker for today. Before we start, let me just introduce Izzman. So Izzman has been conducting a series of workshops for DSC over this 1 year on app development. And he's someone you guys would definitely enjoy having a session with, because he's probably one of the most laid back and chill person I've met. So Izzman is part of DSC and he's also a final year CS student, and he's been in the tech world, and he has like 4 years experience programming, and his niche is game development. So I'll hand it over to you, Izzman.
Thank you, Mirza. Okay, as you guys know, I'm a computer science student. I would not call myself a professional, but I can give you like a preview of what you're gonna touch inside the world of programming. Now, I don't want you guys to be scared and dumbfounded when you guys open a book. And besides, programmers don't use books because we're computer science, right? So we learn everything from the computers, for the computers, with the computers. Okay, now I'm giving you a hands-on afterwards. So I'm showing you how to like go through everything, installing stuff, what stuff are you gonna have to learn, and what you can write. Well, there's a lot that you can write, but you know, too much information in small amount of time is not good for your brain. So I'm just giving you like a 2-3 lines of codes, and then for the rest of it, you can like discover it for yourself. Okay. So what is programming? Now we write, it listens. So who are we and who is it? Now you see, if you're wondering about programming or coding or something, and those are the same thing. So is it like in the movies, like in the Matrix? No. Fun fact, all of those code, the green code on the screen in the movie The Matrix, those are sushi recipes for your information. All right, so programming is a process, creating a set of instructions that tell a computer how to perform a task. I just copy paste that out of Google definition. Okay, so it kind of like literally means like that. So imagine computer is a person, but it does not have free will. You, however, a human. Now, you talk to a computer. Well, you don't really talk to them. You tell them what to do. And you kind of like, I want you to do this, so you do it. And the computer can never say no. I want you to tell me something, and it will tell you something. And it will never lie to you. Computers will always listen to you and do what you want. But sometimes things will go wrong. That's what Murphy's laws say, Murphy's law, I'm sorry. If something, that's basically like programming. It will kind of hurt your brain for a while, but don't worry, you'll get used to it. Kind of get pretty fun. Okay, programming is not really a specific thing. It's something that's very, very general. There's a lot of types of programming, like web programming, operating system programming, network programming, software developing, games development, and well, software engines. There's a lot more like cybersecurity and stuff, but if I go on through the list, it's gonna blow out your brain. So let's move on to the next slide. Now, what do we need? What are the stuff that we really need? The kind of like the gears and cogs to start programming. First things first, you need a computer or computers. How many computer you want? It doesn't really matter. If you get the money for it, yeah, sure. Any computer is fine. It doesn't matter what kind of computer. Windows, Mac, Linux. Eh. Even smartphone can be used to learn programming. There are apps inside phones that you can download from the Play Store or App Store, and you can start away, learn how to program. But you can't really write, like a real app inside a phone. You really need a laptop at least. But really, a budget laptop is all you need to really start programming. It's not really much of a problem. So next, after we got a computer, got everything ready up, we need to know a language. So right back then, I just talked about if computer is a person, if we're talking to it, we have to speak in a language that the computer understands. You can't really talk like Mandarin, or you can't really talk Russian with it. It won't understand you. It won't understand the grammar that you're using. It won't understand the nouns that you're using. It won't understand the verbs that they're using. They don't, hell no, whatever you're talking about. So you need to talk in computer language. Now, computer language is, of course, created by humans. There's no such thing as AI that creates computer. There's no computer god or something. So humans create a computer language in a way that simplifies everything, almost everything. They take symbols, they take dashes, they take periods, they take semicolons, and they replace, using the English language, they replace a little bit of the English structure using those symbols. Now, one of the examples is Java and Python. Java is created for almost, if I'm not mistaken, it's been 60 years ever since Java has existed. It started on 1965, and it's been one of the leading programming language in the whole world. It is recommended for beginners. Teaches starters to understand the code structure very easily because of the symbols that I talked about. The columns and the brackets. It gets a little bit confusing because you're not really organizing your codes. So once you start all of these cleaning up the code, making it look neat and stuff, you will understand very easily what you write, lines by lines. Now, computer language has a certain term with it. You have to be aware with, well, you know how English language is. We got nouns, verbs, and grammar. But for computer language, a noun is known as variables or class. Those two are not the same thing, but it kind of like holds the same meaning. It does not do anything. It just holds a meaning. Variables and classes. For verbs, in computer language, we call it methods and functions. Also, both of that doesn't really mean the same thing, but it does the same thing. A verb is like a word where there's an action involved. So it is a function and a method. So you kind of get the picture, right? So last is grammar. In computer language, we don't call grammar, we call it syntax. You know when you play with your calculator and you kind of like mesh everything around and you want to find the answer to that mesh, you just get a syntax error. That's actually grammar error. The computer doesn't understand what you're saying. So now we learned about Java. Java is pretty much for beginners. It's for you guys. I'm going to show you a little bit of Java right afterwards. Don't worry about that. Now we have Python on the right side. It is the top language for a majority of software developers. It's the #1 most popular language to learn in 2020. You can look it up on YouTube. Easy to learn and write, massive library, and it's pretty much a general purpose. You can use it for data science, making games, for machine learning, web programming, etc. The language is so easy to write, and everything is almost like very simplified that sometimes it gets you wondering, why does that code do this? Because it seems like too simple to be making a complicated operation. So Python is not really advisable for beginners because for beginners, it's pretty much recommended for you to like learn line by line what does each single code mean in atomic operation. And you'll get what I mean in a moment. Now there's a lot more other language. These are kind of like the example of how it looks like. On the left side, top and bottom, this is how you write Java code. You got symbols, you got brackets, and all of that stuff. I'll tell you that, what it means later on. And on the right side is Python. It's a little bit cleaner. It's got less brackets and has a, kind of more like a column kind of table kind of structure. We got more language for you. So we got C# and C++. These languages are really popular among game development communities. I use C++ for Unreal Engine and C# for Unity. Right now I'm developing a Unity project. And it has a very close similarities to Java. It has a very easy implementation, and the game engines is just amazing. But you got to remember, making games is a lot harder than making softwares. I really warn you guys about this, so don't come bugging me afterwards. Okay, so next we got HTML, CSS, JS, PHP. Now, what the hell is that? Okay, HTML is a short form for hypertext markup language. It's kind of like the language that it writes the content of your website. It doesn't really give you the design. It just gives you the content, the text, the image, the link, so basically that's it. If it's CSS, CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. It's a language for designing your web page, making all the animations, making all the transitions, making all the carousel wheels, bars, and navigation bar styles, shadow, all that stuff. JavaScript is JS. JS is just short for JavaScript. Now, JavaScript incorporates very closely to CSS, but it's not meant for designing. It's meant for carrying out the operations, like a logical operations inside a website. So it's almost like you are working with the codes to change itself, or maybe to process some data inside that website. Now, PHP, it's a language for servers. Now, I know you might be wondering what server is. Let's just say it's a language for your website to talk to the internet. How about that? So PHP, it takes whatever input we put into your website, let's say I typed in ABC in a field or something, and I press submit. So PHP will like wrap the input and sends it to the internet for processing. And the server, the internet will kind of like decide what to do with it. So if HTML, CSS, JS, PHP, it's a go-to package for web programming. Well, it's basically kind of like the atomic units for web programming. You can't really do anything else with it. You can try to make a game, but you're gonna have to do that from scratch. Unless if you use a game engine, then it's gonna translate everything for you. But you can try if you want. If you want to see an example of how it looks like, just look at your keyboard, open any website you want. Press F12 key. Here's what's gonna come out. There's there's kind of like a right side column. If you guys try it on your laptop or on your PC right now, there's a bunch of text highlighted in orange and blue. Those are HTML scripts. You guys can try it right now. I can't really show you on slides because it doesn't really include in the share screen, but that's okay. You guys can try it on your own. What other language do we have? Okay, so on the left side, that's kind of like a preview of how Unity engine is. On the right side, it's how HTML is going to look like. It's kind of clean. It's got a lot of brackets in it, but don't worry, don't get goosebumps on you. It's not really that hard. Well, you know what I mean. Now let's get a little bit into like the smartphone side. Now we have two main smartphones. We got Android, the phone that I'm using now, and iOS. Majority of people use it. Well, not really majority, actually. For Android, we use Kotlin language. Kotlin is actually a next generation of Java. It is created to mainly serve the purpose of developing applications for Android phones. It's kind of like a simplified version of Java, and it has all the libraries of Java, but it's really compatible with Android only. You can't make application for Android and iOS using Kotlin. That's kind of unfortunate. I'll explain to you why we can't do that later. So iOS uses Swift language. Now, iOS is a closed source mobile app language made by Apple for Apple. It's very popular actually. It has a very high demand in market due to the scarcity of the skill in developers. And they're paid high, quite higher than Android developers. Because it's really hard to learn Swift language. I'll tell you why in a moment. Now, Apple has a great app, like Apple exclusive, that Android doesn't have. That is a good marketing for iOS. Developers should really get used to both language, but you don't really have to worry about that when I'll tell you what's gonna come next. Okay, regarding a mobile application, Apple is closed source, like I said just now, which means you can't just learn the language out of nowhere, unlike Android. For iOS, for Swift language, you have to get a license. You gotta pay for it, and you gotta be in the community. Everything has to be paid before you get the license to really learn anything and make an application or publish an application into the App Store. So basically, it has a higher, a model model price for starting. So I wouldn't really recommend it, but if you want to go for it, you can, you should. But for Android, it's an open source. It's got guides everywhere. Everyone shares their code in a GitHub, and the development of the application is so rapid. But there's also a lot of competition in Android. But that doesn't mean it's bad. It's just mean that, well, then that means everything is faster developed, and there's a lot more people to help you around, and you know where to look for help. But for iOS and Swift language, it's a little bit, kind of like cramped inside a small community. But it has a very high pay, so look forward to that. Oh, and one warning. In order for you to create an app using Swift language, you will need Apple devices only. But if you have Apple devices, you can write both language, Swift and Kotlin. That's kind of the advantage for people who have Apple products. Now, I wouldn't really recommend you to rush this into picking whichever you want, Kotlin or Swift, because we got Dart language. Now, Dart language is quite new. It is developed by Google, and it has a lot of software development kit that's going to help you with your application design, application structures, and everything. One of it is Flutter. Now, Dart language has a really stable community, and we have a live workshop a few months ago regarding Dart. It is also open source, and it is a hybrid language. So basically, you just write one application, you just write codes for an application a single time, and it can run in both Android and Apple. So it's way easier for you. So if you want to go and make an application, mobile application for both platforms, you might want to consider Dart. Now you get all the language. Well, not really all. You can choose one, or maybe you can learn a little bit of one or two language. You don't have to learn everything. There's a whole lot more language in the market. Too many to count. I think even more than human language. You don't really have the time to do that, because it's going to be a waste of your time. Learning the fundamentals is easy enough, but learning the language, it's another strength to muster. Now you just pick one or two language, and you got a computer. What's next? It's time to set up your computer into, getting ready for writing codes. So what do I have to set up? First things first, IDE. Integrated Development Environment. There's a lot of softwares specifically made or generally, general purpose kind of thing. So this software serves as a platform to write and run codes. Some are specific and some are multi-compatible. What I mean by that, some IDE is meant for one language only, but some other IDE can be, you can write all sorts of code in it, as long as you get the requirements complete. Nothing gets in the hand of a pirate or something. Don't go for pirate softwares, please. So the next one is API and SDK. Now, these two softwares are kind of optional. It's another thing to understand what this is, but it helps you a lot in your application development, in your software development. So API, it stands for Application Programming Interface, and SDK is Software Development Kit. These two softwares are really a bundle of pre-made units for a project. So you don't really have to make everything from scratch again. People made this um, mini projects, an API, and SDK to really help you save time during development, or maybe offer you a feature that you can never get your hands on. It's pretty easy. It's just a 2 to 3 step integration, not much of a migraine. But I wouldn't really recommend it, learning API and SDK in beginner's level, because it will give you a headache if you can't really get your code right, like a one-line code right. All right, now it's time for your own adventure. It's pretty much really simple. But I want to share you guys something. Well, here's what I'm going to show you. I am going to give you like a step-to-step guide on what to install first, where to go in the internet, so you won't get lost. Okay. Now, on your web browser, hold on. Is it this one? All right. Wait, I'm not sure how this works. Okay, now I get what this means. There we go. Okay. Now get a new tab. You just search Netbeans. So Netbeans is a software. It's an IDE for Java, specifically for Java. So you just click Netbeans IDE download. And you click like the first column, free 95 MB. And you wait for it to download for a moment. Now in the meantime, let's go to Java. You just search this and you will get this page. And then you click Java download. Just click Java download. It's really that simple. Now what's the difference between Java and Netbeans? Now Netbeans is the software for you to write codes. And Java is the language. So why are we downloading the language? You know that we have dictionaries to really understand the words that we're saying, right? So basically, when you're downloading Java, you're downloading the dictionary. So you install both of it. Just let the installer do the thing. Now I'm gonna bring you to a website that's gonna help you learn programming very easy. Now, there's a lot of places to learn this from, but if we're talking about like a community that would help you, it would be Stack Overflow. So this is where you post your questions for programmers, by programmers, yeah, and they will answer your questions. You signed up, and you can post questions in this, and just wait for a few hours, sometimes for a few minutes, then somebody's going to answer your question. So here is where you ask a bunch of stuff where, like, when you got stuck, so you don't know who to ask, so you ask here. Next is W3 schools. So W3 schools is a tutorial website. It shows you examples, lines of codes for you to write, and it's got a bunch of other programming language that you can learn from here. So we choose Learn Java. And then it will give you an intro and everything, all the way down to all the syllabus. So you can go through it step by step until you feel comfortable. Sometimes you don't really have to like rush everything. Just go through a few lessons, a few tutorials, test your codes out, and then you go and learn new things. Going through programming too fast can really stress you out sometimes. So you have to take it slow. It's not a rush. Okay. Now remember, when you install Netbeans, you have to be sure that you install Java first. Because when you complete the installation for Java, only then can you install Netbeans. During Netbeans installation, it's gonna ask for JDK. JDK stands for Java Development Kit, which is the one that you just downloaded just now. Okay. So if you're looking for other websites to go through, I'll give you Java T-Point. So Java T-Point, as it says, it's called Java. T stands for tutorial. But it also teaches you all sorts of other languages. So right here is also another tutorial, and it gives you a little bit of like a history lesson, a comparison, and it gives you Java training certification, which is kind of cool. These are all free source. You can do it without costing you anything. You can install everything for free. There's nothing to pay for. Okay, how about we try to go through a little bit of tutorial. Now, I would recommend going for the W3 schools because it's like easier to see. Okay. So now let's go, what is Java, yada, yada, yada. Let's go to Java syntax. Okay, like I said before, syntax is grammar in programming languages. So you have to be sure to put it in the right place because these syntax, it brings meaning, like grammar, right? It makes your sentence make sense. Now in the example right here, it's got public class, my class, static void and everything. You can ignore all of that. But the one that you need to pay attention is system out print line hello world. The one that's, the one that's inside that. So that line It means you're telling your operating system to output, to give an output, to print something out on the screen. So what do you want it to print out on the screen? It's the word hello world. So on this like a black bar, here's the hello world. Okay, so I'm gonna have to take a moment to open my Netbeans. Now, if you guys are wondering, like, how do we, like, survive in this kind of world by learning computer language? I'm pretty sure you guys are gonna be a little bit proud if you guys are into this. We, as a software developer, we will always come up with a new way to make new things together, and our job will never die, believe it or not. What if you kind of like ask Elon Musk for this? We are going forward in a world where technology is a necessity. It's no longer something that we desire. We need technology. So who are going to make these technology work the way they are now? It's us, the software developers. Yeah, it's kind of like kind of feel proud about it a little bit. But don't go too over your head. If you're trash, then you're nothing. But sorry for the sarcasm. Now you see, if you really like focus on your programming learning, you really understand how the program worked, how a language is structured. You can make a bunch of things. You can start your own projects. It will take time. It will. It's not something that you snap your finger and it's going to happen. You have to be patient with it. You're going to face a lot of failures. You're going to get stuck a lot of times. You're going to feel like, oh, why am I so stupid making that kind of mistakes? Why did I not see these kinds of errors? Been there, done that. It will bring you down sometimes. But really, you just have to, take a break, like move away from your computer, and then come back. You will get fresh ideas, and then you will move forward. Those who give up in programming, well, a lot of them came back. They enjoyed it. And I believe that those who are watching this right now, you guys are going to enjoy it too. All right. I'm going to show you one thing about Java. Java variables. Now, like I said, variables are like nouns, right? It holds a meaning, but it doesn't really do anything. So a variable can either be empty, or it can hold a value that means empty, or it can hold any value at all. Now, there are types of variables, types of nouns. So these variables needs to have a certain format to be recognized as that kind of variable. First of all, we have string. A string is a letter. Well, it's actually a word. a character is a letter. String is like a combination of characters forming a word. So basically, string is a word. Next, we got int, which is short for integer. Now, integer is a number, but not all numbers are integer. You have to be aware of that. Integers are basically whole numbers, no decimals, no fractions, just a simple 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It has no decimal points. Next, we have floats. Float is a number, but it has a decimal points up to the tens. So if it's like 20.12, 30.37, 2.1, those are floats. Next, we have characters. So character, we write it as char, C-H-A-R. So characters is letters, are letters. You can't write a word using the format. You can't use a char variable to store a word. You have to use string to store a word. So char just holds the letter A or the letter B or the letter C, and it can't hold a number. It's kind of like a primitive type of variable, but sometimes it has its own use. And then we have Boolean, B-O-O-L-E-A-N. Boolean holds only two types of values. It's either true or false. Nothing more, nothing less. And just ones or zeros. Now for a value, for a variable to hold the value, you have to tell the language, your computer, you have to tell your computer that it is holding a value. All right, there's going to be some terms that you guys are going to be kind of like, what is this guy talking about? Now, don't be kind of surprised about that, because I got surprised too, because nobody told me what it is. Okay. Now, if somebody tell you to instantiate something, then that means they're telling you to make that something exist. Just exist, not hold a value. I know you guys are kind of like, what is this guy talking about? It's okay. I'm not really gonna like churn your brain out or anything. Okay, I'm opening my all right. I'm opening my Netbeans right now, so I'm gonna show you a little bit of writing codes. Okay, so we have variables, right? And then last we have a verb. A verb is methods, Java methods, or functions. So a method is like a bracket, or maybe a block of a code. It's got multiple lines of code. It holds a block that operates changing inputs, making outputs, or maybe instantiating new things, storing a value into a variable. It does something. Or maybe it does nothing. Or maybe it goes through a logic operation. So what do I mean by logic operation? There's a lot of things that I'm stalling right now. I know you guys are really thinking, what is this guy talking about? You guys are getting pretty stressed out. I know. Programming is this kind of thing. You get at one point, you have no idea what this guy's is talking about. But then when you go through the codes yourself, and you were like, oh, okay, I get it. You're gonna go through that, I promise you. Now in programming method, you can write a lot of things and make it like work on something. So in this example right here, the ones that I'm highlighting right now, this is a method. So this method does something. It kind of like wraps a whole lot of operation into a single line. You can write a lot more inside here. And then when it wraps around my method bracket right here, you can just put it in the main method, right here, the main right here, and it will run. And now you guys are pretty weirded out. What the hell am I talking about? I know. This is me. I mean, that is me when I first learned programming. I'm not talking about myself too much. Not going to. Okay. Now, for your information, Java is an object-oriented programming. OOP. Now, what is object-oriented? What does that mean? Okay. So OOP, it kind of like represents your code. Your code kind of represents an object in real life. So if an object is an apple, banana, mango, all of these objects is generalized by one class. They are all fruits, or maybe Volvo, Audi, Toyota, they are all cars. So objects is specifically what a thing is, an object, and a class is kind of like what type of object is it. So that's what it means. OOP, object oriented. It's easy to use this kind of orientation because we kind of like correlate the code with our daily life object. Sometimes people couldn't really differentiate what are objects and class in the codes. Well, it's because class is like a blueprint. It generalizes everything. Object, you fill in the details. What kind of fruit is it? What is its color? What is the size? Is it sweet? Is it sour? Is it tropical? Or is it seasonal? So object is kind of like a class, but it fills in the details. What kind of fruit is it and everything, all that sort of thing. Right. I'm trying to write, redirecting you guys to my screen right here. Wonder if it's working. Okay, cool. Now let's open Netbeans. I'm sorry if you guys kind of get a little bit bored. If it's like if it's like a physical seminar or something, I get really like get you in touch and like hands-on programming pretty fast. But it's COVID stuff. I can't really do anything about it, and we're all away. But I wouldn't blame that. circumstance. Now you got your Netbeans out. Put it on full screen right here. Okay, so this is the startup page. Ignore it, doesn't really matter. Now on the top left corner, all right, on the top left corner, the second icon, it shows new project. Click on that, or you can go for Control-Shift-N. Wait, hold on. It's pretty weird. Okay, let's try that again. Oh, okay. So I gotta activate all this. Go Java, leaving. So activate it. Open project. Oh, for God's sake. Help me out right here. Oh well. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys. If Netbeans doesn't work, you guys can download Visual Studio Code. It's kind of like same thing, but you guys have to like download extensions about it, and then you guys can like write codes on it. So first I'll make a new file. Okay. New project. Okay. Now, if you want to know the secret to like making easy Java codes, you just like highlight everything, copy, like this one. Okay, just copy and paste. That's it. I know it sounds stupid. But believe me, a lot of people do this. But you want to write some code, right? Okay. Now, so right on top, we get a public class. A class is, like I said, it's like a general object. So we just name it my class. It doesn't really matter. Okay. So right here, the public static void main. I don't know if I can zoom this or not. I hope you guys see it. So public static void main, this is a very important line of code because it runs everything inside it, inside the bracket. Okay, let's say I'm writing something else other than this. So first things first is just like that. I know I said it like it's so damn easy, but it is. It's just writing things like that. It's just write things slow, you know. But as long as it works, so no rush, right? Okay. Like each and every time you write a code, you have to make sure that it's clean. What I mean by that is you have to make it understandable. Like you can't just write everything in a single line like this. Nobody would know what in the world you mean by this. So you have to separate each lines of code after a bracket. Okay. Like that. So let's say I'm writing it again from the start to finish from scratch. So I just use public class, whatever name you want. So let's say DSC class, and then a curly bracket. A curly bracket is kind of like a box. It packages your codes. So in that curly bracket, you write other stuff. So the next one would be public static void main normal bracket string box bracket args and the curly bracket. Now this kind of bracket, the normal bracket, is called parameters, a bracket for parameters. So parameter is, it takes an input and it uses that inputs to like process things. So right now, I can write whatever code that I want to run. What I mean by run is that this terminal down here will process that input and produce an output. I'm not creating an app yet. I'm just running the code. I'm just telling the terminal to like run the process and like work it out and give me some result. It's like making math. So let's say I'm instantiating something, the one that I mentioned earlier. So I want to make a string and I'll give a name to that string. So let's say DSC, and then I'll just put a semicolon. So right now, the string DSC has no value in it. It does not hold any meaning. It only has a name and it has its own type, but it does not hold a value. So how do I store a value in it? You could just put a value immediately. So for a string, if you want to say something is a string, you have to put a double, what do you call it, top comma or something, like that kind of symbol. And you just put write it like that, and put a semicolon. This is how you write a string. You just put this right here in the back, and you write whatever you want inside here. You can even write a number, or you can put symbols in it, like a dash, or another bracket or something. It doesn't really matter, as long as it's inside of that thing. I forgot what it's called. It's a string. But let's say I'm instantiating it, but I'm not putting any value into it. I want to put a value into it afterwards, after some other codes have been operated. So how do I do that? So in the next line, I just write DSC, and then the same thing. That's how I give value to something that's empty. So this semicolon thing, it's kind of like a full stop, like the end of a sentence. Most people forgot to put the semicolon, and the code just go haywire. So be cautious. Always remember to put your semicolon. It can be really annoying. So you know how to instantiate something, and you know how to declare something now. So what to do next? Now let's try to do some operations. Okay. So right before, I was telling you guys about logic operation. So what does that mean? So in a computer doesn't really do things our way. Computer are switches. Thousands of switches, or even millions of switches, or trillions, I don't know. So how do computer kind of like translate these switches into alphabets, into the apps that we're using today? Now those are a story for another time, but I'll tell you a simplified version of the story. So computers operates things using binary data. What I meant by binary is ones and zero. One means turned on. Don't even think about it. Zero is turned off. I meant the switch, the light switch that you turn on and turn off, not your feelings. Okay? So one means turning on and zero means turning off. So computers kind of like compile these binary datas together. They will like make it into blocks and blocks and blocks to represent different things. So binary number has only two values, only zeros and ones. So if you want to write the number 3 using a binary data form, you have to go like 1 and a 0. If you want to go and write the number 10, then you have to write maybe 1011. I'm not sure if that's right or not, but that's how computers represent other things. Now it can have a lot of combinations. It can like go through a lot of binary bits bundled together like that long, and it translates into the word club. Or maybe, how about if I write it like this? These binary bits of data bundled together, it means club to a computer. That's how a computer processes its data. So a logical operation could never lie. Well, because it processes things using numbers. It doesn't use the context of words. You can say that club is it does not exist, like don't exist, right? But actually it exists. We can lie using words, but computers can't because they use numbers to prove or work on things. Now, the logic operation in this kind of programming language, like Java, they have multiple, they use kind of like statements to prove, to check if it's true, if it matches, if it, like, how do I say this? If it brings any meaning. Okay. Now, the most popular statement check is if. So inside this bracket, you put a logical operation. So it checks if A equals to B. If A equals to B, then do something. It literally means if A equals to B, then do something. Rather than you type it out, like if A equals to B, then do something. Which one is easier to write? Of course, it's got to be the line of code. So if A equals to B, do something, maybe 1 plus 2 or something. That's how it checks the statement. And then there's another one. There's while. While A equals to B, then do something. Now, while means each time it reads the line A equals to B and it is true, it will keep on repeating, looping all over, doing the same operation. So A, no, 1 plus 2. All right. And maybe the value number okay. So there's a variable called number that's gonna hold the value 1. All right. And then number plus 1. So while A equals to B, if it's true, it's going to loop all over again. Number plus 1, number plus 1, number plus 1 until proven otherwise. That's the second type of statement check. And then there's another one. There's a for. For gives you a little bit more specification on what statement to check. It's actually a combination of if and while statement check. So it checks out, it puts a pointer. What I meant by pointer is, so I put a number I, all right? And if I is less than 0 or less than 10, I plus plus. What does I plus plus mean? Okay, I plus plus means you just add the value I with 1. So if you put a value on I, so I equals to 1. Okay, so for statement, it will instantiate, it will create the integer I, which is the value of 1 right here. And then it will check. If I is less than 10, it will keep on adding the value I with 1, increasing the value by 1. It will keep on looping. It will keep on going I plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 until I equals to 0. And then the loop stops. When the loop stops, the computer will read the next line. So if the next line says system out print, let's just say hooray. So the first line, the first statement check. If A equals to B, read the next line or do whatever it is below it. And then it reads, okay, while A equals to B, read whatever it is below it. Okay, there's an integer called number, which is equals to 1. The value that it holds is 1. And then the number will keep on adding with 1. It will increase the value by 1. And then it will read the next line. So it will check for integer I equals to 1. All right. So it creates an integer named I and holds the value 1. So if I is less than 10, keep on adding I with the value 1. It will keep on adding and adding and adding until I is 10. So when every single statement is fulfilled, the loop will break. The repeating cycle will break. Now when everything is broken, it will read the next line, and the next line is system out print hooray, and the terminal will write down hooray. Ta-da! It's kind of like a simple operations. It's not really much of a like brain blast or something. There's a lot of lines of codes. Like these are one of my example projects. Like I'll show you a little bit of it. And you guys are gonna jump your boots out of this. You guys want to see like an actual code? This is an actual code. It's got a whole lot of bunch of stuff in it. But this is like my academic project, so it's another story to be explaining it. And this is PHP that I'm writing right now. That's like another adventure for you guys to discover. Okay, so there's not really much time left, and I've shown you a lot of guides, a little bit of what to write and how to like read your codes. So I'm gonna open like now you guys can ask me any questions that you want, or maybe give comments like what you guys don't get, or maybe like, am I blabbering alone? So basically now it's a Q&A. You guys can ask me anything.
So thanks, Izzman. So we had a few questions earlier. I think you answered one of it. So this is one we had.
We have
So
courses to teach Java. Well, not now in particular, but if there's a lot of requests, I can make one.
So Surya, you could check out those links that we've shared. Other than that, there are courses on Coursera if you would like to explore. Also, we could help you out. You could just reach out to us and we could guide you through according to what works best for you. So feel free to reach out to us via Facebook. So that way, I guess we could probably understand what suits you best, and we could suggest the right course for you. So I hope that answers your question. So we have another one. Okay. So another viewer, I guess she was having some trouble, or she's still having some trouble downloading Java in her computer. Izzman, do you want to show it again? Just a quick demo, how you showed earlier. Also, no worries. We will also. I saw your message on Messenger. One of our members would be reaching out to you soon.
Okay, how to download Java in my computer? The question is kind of general, but okay, I'll just bring you guys through the guide again. So you guys just open it in a new tab. So there's two things that you have to download on Java. First is Java SE, a standard edition. So this is a language library or a dictionary, but in programming language we call it library. So you just click it. Now go through JDK download. All right. Scroll down and you look for Windows installer. Make sure you go for installer. And you click on that, tick, and you download. That's it. So that one is for JDK.
I hope that helps. But no worries. One of our members will be getting back to you very soon. So don't worry about that. We could have a chat later.
Because sometimes you have problem downloading stuff, and you will have kind of like specific problem on your computer. It's not really a general problem, because like sometimes it might be a missing file, or you didn't update something, or maybe you go through a different kind of installation steps. So you kind of need like to know what your specific problems. Not really, I can't download Java because that's kind of like hard to like note what problems you have. But we'll help you later with that.
So don't worry about that, okay? Yeah, so any other questions? Right. I guess we'll wait for the questions for a bit. So we have another question if this video will be still available after the live stream. So yes, it would be. Feel free to replay the video as many times you want. I guess like this is one of the perks of having it online. You get to pause and go on your own pace. So yeah, you could always go back to our YouTube channel and watch this video again. Yeah, so while waiting for any other questions that might come, Izzman, thanks again for having this session. It was great having you share about the foundations of programming. I'm sure that many of you would benefit out of this. So if you're feeling kind of lost or intimidated right now, don't worry about it. Just like Izzman mentioned earlier, I mean, everything, it takes like little steps to master something. So, I mean, even walking or talking, like it took us time to learn, right? So that's just how any learning process would be. So don't worry if you're feeling lost right now. You will eventually master it as long as you keep being persistent about learning it. Yeah, and to be honest, like it wasn't a very when I first started programming. Trust me, I was very lost as well. Like I said, just keep practicing, keep going through like different materials, platforms. There are many platforms out there, so just check it out, and it would help. Also, DSC would always be willing to help you guys out. So if you guys have any requests or things that you would like to know, feel free to just reach out to us. You can either put it on the comment section or reach out to us via our Facebook page. I've shared the link earlier, so feel free to check that out. You could always just send us a message and we would definitely consider. So yeah, I guess we have no questions for now. Also, we are very much interested to reaching out to students who are aspiring to be programmers or developers. So right now we've had this session on foundations of programming. So if you'd like to know more about programming, like I mentioned earlier, feel free to reach out to us. Also, share with us your feedback in the chat, how you think we could improve, what you expect from us. Also, for those of you who have already started with programming, still trying to figure out what you'd like to do. I know the tech field is a very huge one. There are many different options you could explore. So if you'd like to get any advice on that, reach out to us also, and we'd love to help. Few other topics we'd be interested to help out would be in machine learning, app development, or cloud computing. So those of you who are familiar with programming already, let us know if you would like to have that. And also special thanks to all these amazing teachers who have reached out to us, asking for this, requesting for this session for students. So I hope that you guys have benefited out of this session. So Izzman, anything else you want to share before we end our session today?
A few tips for you guys really immerse yourself in programming. There's a lot of people who suck at teaching programming. I think, including myself, I'm pretty sorry if you guys got confused when I was talking just now, maybe mumbling. But I hope you guys don't like discouraged. Just imagine if you could really go through this learning process and improve yourself and getting creative with your codes, and then you just pick one area where you get really good, and you could create a whole bunch of things. You will be amazing. Trust me.
Thanks for sharing that, Izzman. I totally agree with that. So I've also shared a few other resources that could come in handy for you guys. So the first one is a platform by Google to help students grow their technical skills. So there are different suggested paths there. You could follow those. There are programs like for foundational programming, machine learning, advanced programming, and cloud computing. So you could check that out and see if that works for you. You could try it out. And the second link is a link that it's a platform for you to know more about programs, events, and scholarships provided by Google for students out there. These are just some things that I'd like to share because I think it would be helpful. You could also explore many other platforms like we mentioned earlier. So I hope that helps. So I guess that's it for today. Thank you everyone for joining us. And thanks Izzman once again for sharing. So that's about it. Hope you guys have a great week ahead and happy programming. So that's it. Bye.